Good evening and welcome to Pakistan Today from our Islamabad studio. I'm Victoria Lane. U.S. President Donald Trump has said Iran is not Venezuela, saying the situation is different and that the United States cannot simply enter and leave in a day. Speaking at the White House, Trump said the U.S. could obtain Iran's enriched uranium without a deal, but added there was no need to do so. He warned that any Iranian attack on U.S. forces could justify the resumption of war. Trump also said that under a potential agreement, Iran would not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons, and that the Strait of Hormuz would reopen immediately. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirmed support for Kuwait's security following Iranian attacks, calling them provocative and unacceptable. Senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Mohsen Rezai, says several aspects of the proposed agreement draft remain unresolved. Speaking to Iranian state television, Rezai said ambiguities remain in the memorandum intended to end the conflict, and that further discussions are required before any final agreement. He accused Washington and Donald Trump of pushing Tehran toward accepting American conditions while keeping Iran's own demands unclear. At the same time, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghai said Germany's failure to secure a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council reflects what he described as growing international criticism over Berlin's positions on Gaza and Iran. Turning to regional developments, Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi has met Iranian Interior Minister Eskandar Momeni on the sidelines of an international forum in Tajikistan. The two sides discussed strengthening security cooperation along the Pakistan-Iran border, improving border management, and preventing illegal activities. Officials say both ministers also exchanged views on regional peace and stability, while reaffirming commitments to closer coordination between law enforcement agencies to address shared security challenges. On World Environment Day, President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif have called for urgent environmental action at both national and international levels. In separate messages, both leaders warned that climate change poses serious risks to health, economic stability, and food security. President Zardari said environmental protection must become a central pillar of policymaking, pointing to glacier melt, floods, and extreme heat as growing threats. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said this year's theme of climate action highlights the need for collective international efforts to secure a sustainable future. Pakistan and China are also marking 75 years of diplomatic relations, with China's state-run Global Times describing ties between the two countries as strong, reliable, and exemplary. The publication said relations continue to deepen despite changing global political and economic conditions, and highlighted strategic cooperation, mutual trust, and diplomatic coordination. It added that economic collaboration, particularly under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, has entered a new phase, supporting development, regional stability, and prosperity. Now to electoral developments. Campaigning for the Gilgit-Baltistan Legislative Assembly elections ends today, ahead of polling scheduled for Sunday. Nearly 1 million registered voters are expected to cast ballots across 24 constituencies, where almost 400 candidates are in the race. For more on this, we go to Adam Khan in the northern areas. Adam, what is the situation there?
Thank you, Victoria. Authorities say preparations for polling are entering their final phase, with more than 1,300 polling stations established across Gilgit-Baltistan. Police officials say the overall law and order situation remains satisfactory following weeks of political activity across the region. Security coordination is continuing ahead of polling day as officials prepare for voter turnout across remote and urban constituencies alike. Meanwhile, election authorities are urging voters to participate peacefully as campaigning officially concludes.
Adam Khan reporting from the northern areas. Thank you for that update. Meanwhile, the Election Commission of Azad Jammu and Kashmir has announced that general elections in the region will take place on July 27th. And finally, Pakistan's power regulator NEPRA has announced both increases and reductions in electricity tariffs under separate adjustments. Electricity prices have been increased by 1 rupee and 19 paisas per unit under April's fuel adjustment mechanism, with the change to appear in June bills for most consumers. At the same time, NEPRA has approved a reduction of 1 rupee and 98 paisas per unit under the first quarterly adjustment of 2026. The relief will apply to bills issued during June, July, and August, and is expected to provide consumers with relief worth more than 67 billion rupees, although certain categories including Lifeline and prepaid users remain excluded. That's all for now. You're watching Pakistan Today. I'm Victoria Lane.